Hey boys and girls, we are on practice 1411 and this one is problem solving. We're selecting appropriate measurement units and tools. So this lesson is really important because it's important that we know how to measure things and which tools make sense and which tools just don't make sense. So if you look at your reteach, which is right before it, and I just folded the piece of paper so I could see this part, okay? It shows you some measurement units that you can use to measure area. Notice that they all start with the magic word square because in area we're counting squares. Now, to measure length, you could use inches or centimeters or a yardstick or a meter stick. So these are the different things that we are using to measure today. If it's area, it has to have square. If you're just measuring the length of something or the perimeter, then it does not. You could have inches or centimeters. Remember, an inch is about this long. No, about 2 fingers for me, probably 3 fingers for you is about 1 inch. And a centimeter is much smaller. A yardstick and a meter stick are about the same length. They're really only like a couple inches off from each other. A yardstick is 3 feet long, which is 36 inches. Okay, and a meter stick is 100 centimeters. So they end up being about the same length. So yardstick and meter stick are about the same unit of measurement, but centimeters we know are much smaller than an inch. So it's important to keep these in mind. Now on your Google Slides, you'll be able to scroll up to your reteach and you'll be able to see this in case you need it for your lesson. So number 1, name the measurement you would use to measure the area of each item. So I already know each of these are going to start with square. And I'm just going to write square on all of them because I know that if it's area, I have to use square units. So blanket, what measurement unit would I use? What would I use for a blanket? I would probably use, you could maybe use square inches. If it's like a baby blanket, you could use square feet. I would not use centimeters because that would be really small. I wouldn't use yardsticks because it might be the same length as a yardstick, but it might not be 2. It wouldn't be very accurate. And I definitely wouldn't want to use miles or anything bigger than that. So I would say inches or feet would both be correct. New York City. I'm not measuring New York City in inches, and I'm not measuring it in centimeters. I want to use something really big because it's a really big city. I would probably use square miles. A table tennis table. So if you haven't played table tennis before, or ping pong, it's about the length of like a kitchen table. So I would probably use square inches. Anytime I've looked at buying a table online or at the store, it measures it in square inches. That way you know like if it's going to fit in your room or not. It's usually not measured in square feet because it might be like in between like 5 and 6 feet. So it'll usually give it to you in inches or feet and inches. And a vegetable garden. This one could be a little subjective. It kind of depends on how big your garden is, really, because I have a really small garden outside that I would probably measure in like either square inches, maybe square feet. But some of you guys at home have a really big vegetable garden, so you might measure yours in square yards. All right, 5 through 8. Name the measurement tool you would use to measure the item of each one. So this one's the measurement unit. This is where we were using inches, yards, things like that. This is the tool, okay? So this is, would I use a ruler or would I use a yardstick? Now a yardstick is 3 feet and I don't have one here because my kids would probably hit each other with it. But a yardstick's going to be about this big. It's about 3 feet. So if you have a little brother or sister that's like 2 years old, maybe 3 years old, it's probably about as tall as them. Okay, so this is the measurement tool. This is where we're going to look here at the tools. Are we going to use inch ruler, a centimeter ruler, a yardstick, or a meter stick? So the roof of a building. I probably wouldn't use a ruler. I would probably use a yardstick or a meter stick. And I think it just gives you 2 lines here in case you run out of space to write the word. So you don't have to write 2 for each one. You just have to write 1. A pizza pie. Would you measure pizza? When you get a pizza at the restaurant, it'll usually say, oh, do you want an 8-inch pizza or a 14-inch pizza or the extra large 18-inch pizza? And they use inch rulers. And movie screens are measured in inches. If you go to the store and you're like, oh, I need to buy a new TV, or if you go to the movie theater and you see that's the big screen, they measure diagonally in inches. So they use an inch ruler. And a crayon box, which I thought I had one of, but apparently my kids stole it again. Shocker. So if you have a crayon box about this big, and you are going to measure how tall it was, you could use inches, but it might be like 4.5 or 4 3/4 inches, which isn't as easy to measure accurately. So I would probably use a centimeter ruler. All right, 9, Carl wants to measure the area of his kitchen floor. Which unit of measurement should he use? And we're looking at area. Now remember, if I use area, what's my magic word? Square, right? So it's not inches or feet. Cross them out because we need square units. So if it's the area of his floor, his kitchen floor, I probably would measure in inches. You would have to use that ruler a lot of times. I would probably do square feet. When you look at replacing a floor, like in a house or something, or if you're putting carpet or something, you always measure it in square feet. Inez wants to find the area of a small photo. So it's small photo. What measurement tool should she use? So this is the tool she's using to measure a small picture. An inch ruler, a meter stick, a scale, or a yardstick. So it's not a scale. We're not measuring how heavy it is. A yardstick and a meter stick would both be way too big for a small picture. So it would be an inch ruler. Give an example of an area you would measure in square miles. What would you measure in miles? When we looked up at our first couple questions, New York City was the only one we measured in square miles. Square miles, we would usually measure a city or a state, a country, sometimes a park, like a big park, like a national park, like Yellowstone or Olympic National Park. Those sometimes are measured in square miles also. Jeremiah wants to use a meter stick to measure the dimensions of a magazine cover to find its area. Now, dimensions just means side and width length. Width length. Length. Oh, tongue-tied today, you guys. So, the dimensions, it's just a fancy word for the sides. That's it. He wants to find its area. What would be an appropriate measurement tool? Explain why or why not. So it's asking what tool he would use to measure a magazine. Well, a magazine is going to be about the same size as your piece of paper, maybe a little bigger or smaller depending on which magazine. So what would you use? The paper is measured 8.5 inches by 11 inches. I would probably use an inch ruler because it's not too small and not too big. It's just right. It will give an accurate measurement. Off the lines. So I would use an inch ruler because it's not too small, it's not too big, it'll give an accurate measurement. It's not going to be like a square mile where I wouldn't be able to use it, and it's not going to be tiny centimeters that would take me a really long time. So I hope this helped. If you still need more help, watch the video again. Feel free to email me. I'm only a click away. And please, before you take your test this week, I am not opening the test until Thursday, okay? So until Thursday, please do your best to look through these lessons, rewatch the videos, and make sure that you know absolutely everything about area and perimeter before you take that test. Okay, I will see you next time.